Welcome to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. These are all people who look forward to being in their heart and not their gut, and that means a differentiated self who is securely attached and an integrated brain. Those are the people who are ready for self help, personal development, spiritual growth, and all of the content so that they don't have to be, it's not true. They can totally do it. Do what? Become emotionally mature. What are you doing right now? I'm a perfectionist who's an imperfectionist. I know that I will never be good because I will always be bad to those am I not decent enough to be saluted who have unhealthy self-worth. And that's a lot of stories that I will be sharing. In the meantime, the first story is I'm an empowered feminine because I have a 0-1-year-old, she's mine, and my 3 to 7, she's mine, and so is my 8 to 11, she's all mine. 11, 12 is all mine. 14, 15, 16, all of my child parts are mine, and the freeze is mine. In fact, we can thank that I have a lot of stories from my mystic life, but I won't be sharing them just yet. So I'm going to try and keep it with the woo-woo pseudoscience lady who can be recognizing pseudo-intellectuals thanks to my heart working and my gut noticing that they are actually working from their brainstem because I'm a nervous system, so are you. And I got taught by Dr. Daniel Siegel a lot about how to differentiate when I asked him some things. So with that, I'm a guitar string, you're a guitar string. I'm a ventral vagal state, and that's why I'm invincible. So I'm the emotionally invincible elite human being, not leader, but definitely with the mystics, the spiritual, and the mindfully living, loving people who enjoy a woo-woo pseudoscience lady and podcasts that are here to make fun of the ones who don't want to be emotionally invincible because they don't want to be mentally invincible either. In fact, they're the ones that, from amoeba to elephant, all creatures nourish the ecology. Sadhguru says only we humans are in destruction mode. I said, no, Sadhguru, not we humans. Only they can do it. I totally know that I don't need to do this emotionally boundary shit. It's draining me. That's because you don't know how to yet use your own ventral vagal state. But that means that you can go to a fancy lady in her suit who lets you know how she says, dismantle modern day therapists and that they're trying to imprison you. And that's where you got their 3-year-old, I want out. But the grown up who's 16 is spiting their own home because that's what shame does. As Stephen Porges points out, you don't heal it with psychotherapy. And that's why people who follow these assholes around are all the same. And I'm going to call them assholes. I'm an asshole too. The difference is I'm an asshole with a know-it-all. Hey, Sam Harris, what's up? All of my cherishable beliefs could be grounded in not reality. Flat earthers, you having a good time? So I'm okay with that because I actually like learning things because my ears aren't plugged. Because I'm not in a safety behavior. I'm not trying to be a rebel. I'm not trying to disobey anyone. I don't feel that I'm actually in danger. Because you can't spank me. It's in my body. And once I was spanked, I'm a 3-year-old here, I go to make my suitcase. This shows you my personality pattern and my temperament and my attachment, which is secured to Maria. And as I'm going to make my suitcase, my twin does this. She goes and hugs my mom and says, Mommy, I will never leave you. And that shows you her personality pattern and temperament and attachment. And that's why my twin and we get to chit chat about this stuff. And as my guardian angel, because I found out she's my guardian angel, which is totally something that makes sense, because she's definitely all peace and loving and all that. And I am going to continue to help her to do any type of personal development exploration she wants. And same thing goes with my mom and my baby sister. And that's my immediate herd. No, you have not heard of any men because they're all dead. And this is how I'm going to bring it to you because, life happens. I'm an enlightenment soul ager. No, I'm not emotionless. But I do want you to understand when you have your ventral vagal state and you stress, and this is how people say, no, it's not dangerous to have no emotions, fancy lady in your suit. You don't know how to be what is an angry Christian Catholic. I'm not a Buddhist. I make fun of suffering in Buddha. Buddha makes fun of me, and that's in my LBLT. And again, anyone who's like, oh my God, bye. Because really, any teenager is going to do that. And I don't do well with fakos. But thanks to my facade friend, I learned how not to get aggravated and angry and yell in their face. So thanks to this one human being who's my brother, who will be in my future, I can tell you all in my future life, I even know who my husband is. And I know who else is going to be there. And my family likes to make fun of me. You don't love us, Maria. We're not there. family, I said to all of them, I didn't get the opportunity to stay in my future, and I don't really want to spend time there. I don't need to. I like living Maria right now because I only have 24 hours and there's only so many things I can do, and really spending it with the stars and dead people, no, not really. Plus, God always chimes in. Thanks, God, I do judge human suffering a waste of my fucking time. No, actually, I'm getting better at noticing how instead I'm able to bring it to you. It is not the amount of action, but the depth of experience that makes life rich and fulfilling. Thank you, Sadhguru. And I realized this when I would wake up from bed and I was so upset. And Marcus Aurelius said, Maria, stop worrying about this. Do something that will make an impact, meaning use your time effectively. And so every day in my 24 hours, when ventral vagal state, it's easy for me to do open heart. I don't do gut. I learned how to align myself, and that's because not all humans are in destruction mode. Only the ones who are and think they're brilliant. So Sadhguru says only we humans are in destruction mode, and we think we're brilliant. This man who I'm making fun of him right now, he's on my list. This dude plays Russian roulette on screen, and if there's one thing that makes Kali very upset, I have my own Shiva, and I have my Shiva story too, and I have my own Krishna Leela. Maria explores the depths of the profound with herself because I'm composed, critically aware, and I am ethical because I am a healthy perfectionist. And no, I'm not good. I was a teen when I got told, actually 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, yes, 18, 19. By the time I'm 19, I know all about Maria. Oh, yeah. You want to hear some fun stories? Let's talk about this one. So I am bilingual and I speak Italian, but I don't do the dialect very well. Once your experience of being alive is profound, everything you do becomes profound. Thank you, Sadhguru. Maria thanks God for life and my miracle. Neil deGrasse Science also explains to you, you won't be reborn genetically. So when I see a human being sluggish, okay, I'm just going to present it to you. When I see anybody wasting their life away, I'm just like, what are you doing? And this is as a teen, again, because I'm black and white in my thinking like anybody else. I got taught right, I got taught wrong. I stopped casting a stone. Thank you, God. And I am in favor of anarchy because I'm not afraid of humans, because the ones who don't amount to doing much are the same ones who actually, not only are they in destruction mode, they think they're brilliant while they're in it. And so if you want to see Kali with Shiva and Krishna Leela, don't worry. My BFFF, I waited 7 days before going to her and saying, so, you're the one who kissed the boyfriend. I had to beg him. No, I had to repeat myself 3 times with him again after the 3rd year of this relationship. It's beginning to sound like a pattern. Yes, it is. And I'm like, okay, dude, this is getting ridiculous. I am growing up. We are growing up. And now this is getting ridiculous because, one, okay, the first time I got it, what happened was your ex-girlfriend. That happens. And the fact that you got the BFFF of yours who got with her, look at that circle, huh? The second time, got all these friends, nobody tells me anything. I got to hear all of their reasons why. This is called Maria Doesn't Live with Effective Realism, because I know subjective experience. So you want virtue? You know what virtue is? Virtue means you get an integrated brain, number 1. You get to become a humble human being, number 2. And number 3, compassion and unconditional love. So when you spot the pseudo-intellectuals who are saying to you they love their children and playing Russian roulette on screen and they're completely idiotic. Oh, I forgot to mention, I have a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. I have consciously chosen, I'm not talking with any of you on here about my political views or religious ones. Even though people make assumptions based on how I speak, which is fine, because ignorant people make assumptions of people based on what they see. I don't want to hang out with ignorant starfish. They have no horse, they have no stamina, and they're superficial, and their left mode is a teenager. So when I hear anybody on YouTube complaining, it's the same as the emotionally immature kids I met as I was growing up, and the cowards are the same. They did not heal shame. They did not heal their child parts. They're not, and I didn't even know about this. Again, they stayed in charges, and they think that being rebellious in their visceral, this is the people who are drama kings and queens. And while someone who helps people to get out of it says it's disrespectful, I say You don't know that 3D, 4D is sticking around, do you? You're one of those who actually thinks that you make a difference in the life of the people who choose they don't want to be in their ventral vagal state, and go ahead and say, let me dismantle all of modern day therapists and tell you how they're trying to imprison you. Let me make sure you read. It's dangerous to have no emotions. It's not true that it's inherently enlightening and healthy to be non-reactive. You know what the people who don't want to be non-reactive say? Well, it's true. No, it's not. You don't know neuroscience. Apparently, I do. And it's unhealthy for your body to be modulated and dysregulated. But a teenager will only hear what a teenager wants to hear because they're in biological rudeness. So if you meet people who have actual virtue, you will find genuine intellectuals who will smile together and think, wow, the children, aren't they adorable? And we won't do that in front of them. I will do that with the intelligent minds, Maria. And you get to hear my stories, but when I'm in a room, you won't notice anything, because the other thing is that the integrated brain person is whole. They know their biases, their implicit, explicit memory. They know all about, why? Because they're the smart ones. Again, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. If you don't know anything about your own inner world, so you can know everything, but not everything, because it's through those who observe you that you get feedback, because I can't observe my micro movements. I can't hear my tone. And so it's thanks to others that I get to learn how I walk and talk, and then I get to explore myself because I'm aware, accountable, regulating, and that's because I am a composed, critically aware, ethical person who loves virtue and who also loves to let people know what true virtue looks like true integrity. I'm a poly secure woman who doesn't do, you're not poly enough. I'm also a mystic who comes with faith, with God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. I don't do, you're evil, Knievel, demons. Okay, so the people who call each other names, those are all people who don't know how to use their brain, because they actively they turn to quote unquote insulting. They're in their fight flight response. That's why it's not taken seriously, because their adaptive child part is a protector of something that they're not healing. Virtue at its core signifies a positive moral quality or characteristic that is commendable and desirable. Furthermore, they stop at the words and they don't notice their body. So they lack the capacity to be aware of their left and their right on purpose. Oh, no, it's not on purpose. It's if I ignore Patrick Chan, Terry Real, and I ignore that I bring forth an exile protector in a room, my maladaptive patterns, which means I get spiteful with you, I'm ignoring my emotionally immature everything. And there's bountiful of 3D, 4D who follow the man in suit that I continuously make fun of, the woman in suit, and this other idiot. And they are all suit intellectuals. Furthermore, there's even more than just that. Okay, so when I see a suit, and now I've gotten the download from the genuine intellectual smart people, and then I got to experience my gut in a room with this man who sounds eloquent as can be. And I'm like, okay, there's a disconnect here, because I'm enjoying what I'm hearing from my mind, these are words, but my body, my empowered feminine, is giving me a whole different feeling. But I won't jump to conclusions, because I'm not an ignorant brain who assumes to know everything. Also, I know that golden nuggets are always provided by any intellectual storyteller or not. And so I'm able to silence that which is a don't talk over another person, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, 14-month-old, because there's value in every single one of my brothers and sisters. Thank you, God, for the humility, the actual virtue, and the actual capacity to use my mouth to say to anyone, if you're telling me they can, I automatically know I got a FACO in front of me, because you don't, either you're ignorant about neuroscience, but the minute I present it to you and you say, no, but they can, the minute that you say they can't, I will present to you the neuroscience again and the mental health, because this is the part. You are not them. And you pathologizing a person, saying what they can or can't do, allowing yourself to get into your feels means you're tainting it. Acknowledge you're tainting it. I'm bothered by emotionally immature people. That means you don't know how to use your ventral vagal state, by the way, because you're not owning your own body. You don't know how to differentiate, like Dr. Daniel Siegel presented. Maria, you can differentiate more. What sounds like you're telling me when I asked him for support, because I perceive my entire oversoul, that means my immediate, then Earth, and beyond. Thank goodness the stars are fine, because humans are the only idiots who don't know how to take their nervous system, this is my frustration, because I'm a perfectionist who's imperfect. And notice, you're not good or bad, you idiot. Go to therapy, get over yourself, and become a real boy, real girl, real they, real anything, and just stop listening to morons. But that's utopia. Because, again, thank you, God, because I'm here responsible for Maria's embodiment, and then I'm responsible for I'm responsible for how I choose to bring myself forth, which is why I have virtue and integrity, which is why I have more ethical morals and values than anybody else who wants to use their words, pick their dogma and their idea of what they self-righteously think based on ignoring what their past brought to them. So a person who lacks self-awareness, accountability, and regulation in ventral vagal state will not be at IHP, because I am in ventral vagal state. And I am not oblivious to my own implicit, explicit memory, to my own past, and to my own anything. And I actually know everything there is to know. And I'm continuing to learn about the embodied brain and that I'm an integrated brain. So differentiated, securely attached, self-led people are the 5D collective. And those are the only people that I've been looking to work with in the first place, because you don't do self-help, personal development, if you're not yet ready to be the grown-up version. If you want to be a rebel, you're going to go hang out with the ones who pat each other on the back, like the flat earthers who come into my classrooms, but they're not mine, but they come into grown-up classrooms, and I get to actually hear them interrupt classroom with the desire for shortcuts and the actual inability to hear what was just explained to them. In the meantime, they have more degrees than I ever will have, because I didn't bother to get myself a PhD, because I'm like, I don't really want to hang out with stupid people, because ego's stupid. So I like the genuine academics, the genuine intellectuals, and then I know that the pseudo ones have something of value to add, because all my brothers and sisters, God will give you all a place. You all have a voice, and there's no Lucifer in anyone. So again, Evil Knievel Medieval, there's only Michael Stone with his forensic criminologist skill. They all are surrounded by therapists from me, the mystic, with a magical baton. But again, God is good and benevolent, and so is intelligence, and so is Akash. So what I'm going to go on to continue sharing is that the people who don't know how everything happens for a reason, every action has a reaction, always remember that what's meant to be will always find a way to come. Our potential rises to the unimaginable. This one's mine. The other one was I don't know, unknown. And so our potential, for me, Maria, is the unimaginable, to inspire, live life, and favor human growth. And that's where I get to tell you all about how not all emotionally immature people will become emotionally mature. And I, as an empowered feminine with my own empowered masculine, will not be kicking anybody to the curb, nor will I make the ignorant, idiotic statement of they all can or they all can't. Narcissists can heal, sociopaths or sociopathy or psychopathy, however it can be addressed by the individual who takes care. I want to be an emotionally mature, mentally mature, physically mature, available person to my society, because there's enough of the data out there by the smart people. They don't need to give themselves words or names. So anybody who's being a part of a group, I already know where they go. And so it is ignorant to think of emotionally immature people becoming all emotion mature, which is why I know already that I will be dealing with 3D, 4D, and I know how to handle them, because when I hear about people explaining how to put healthy boundaries, I've consistently done it without a structure, because that's what common sense is. From an integrated brain who has not a fake self. I don't pretend to be Maria. I don't hold back what I think. I learned how to master all my emotions because my mother gave me free love, allowed me to be all my angry little butthole and fearful and sad and all of it. And she continues to have the patience in my codependent years, alongside also, again, not making me work for love, but saying, you're a kid, go have fun and play. You're not here to worry. Go, 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 because I'm a worrywart. Okay, and so with that, when I see the ones who think of themselves as superior to others, they're not. They're actually martyrs, superiors, and or blamers, and or victims. And in both equations, I have an adaptive child part who it does not have virtue, but they will enjoy using fancy words, and they will enjoy thinking that they are that. And thinking, no, how about you go to your feels, notice that heart. Is it open? Are you at an ease in your body? Are you at an ease when you're talking to all people? Because that's when you have an ego that has a self and you're a higher self-led person. So I have new fancy words to tell you. I'm a teenager. So teenage boyfriend, it's the third time he's cheating. I have to basically repeat myself 3 times before I say, just tell me the truth, because I know. I forgot at this point what gave it away. I had 2 tarot readings. I think it was the second one. Something snapped. I was like, it's her, not the other one. And now that I noticed what I did, so I had gossiped, and so I take ownership of that, and I say, you learned how not to actually say stuff that's mean about another person, especially with a person you think is your BFFF of all times. No, she is my BFFF of all times. I didn't change that. She's a person who lacks integrity, lacks virtue, is a coward like any other adult in this moment in day that I can still meet, like my facade friend who's a faco. So people who are paused, and they're paused because they're distorted, because they did not heal their shame, they did not heal their child part defectiveness, they did not heal their teenager, and they're leading with it. And so anyone who's a teenage version of themselves, I will spot them because they begin to get self-righteous, and they actually talk down, they actually make these statements. They can, and you don't know neuroscience. You're an ignorant human being, or you don't believe in it, fine. But you know what? You're also then not grounded in reality, because all of your cherishable beliefs, they're not all true. FYI, you're not a neuroscientist. You don't know the entire keep, nor do I, but I've learned from a very good bunch of them. So when I have one human being or 2 or 3 taking themselves out of academia, taking themselves away from their colleagues, and choosing to think that they know it all, where there you got a God complex. It's very clear to me, insecure ego, who's playing God, who's playing the I know it all, who's going to go there? The same ones who have self-doubt. They don't own their sense of self. They don't own an integrated brain, because the only idiots who hear pseudo-intellectuals and actually fall for the bullshit are the same ones who think yoga brings demons out of you because of one human being who didn't bother going to a therapist and knowing of Peter Levine, where your muscles, bones, and tissues store trauma. And mindfulness, it's not bad for you, but if you're not integrated and you have shit coming up when you're doing mindfulness practices, that's why in the state of awareness, maximum uncertainty, you don't know how to handle your rigidity or chaos. Also, they don't know decentralizing of the self, Patrick McNamara, and how our human species has consistently evolved, and that the ignorant people deny decentralizing of the self and claim it to be bad, while biology is an actual science. So again, if you're an evolutionary biologist but you disengage from your colleagues, you're an ignorant one. So I'm going to get the golden nuggets that you learned from dinosaur time, and you even like to use the word dinosaur. You're a dinosaur. And then you play again Russian roulette on screen. So here's the deal. I love all children. I love all humans. I'm a child myself. I will play the game of life with love because I've always chosen it, because God, Jesus, Holy Spirit taught it to me. And God taught me humility, how not to play a know-it-all. And so my BFFF, to finish the story, I wait 7 days to go to her because I'm now very, very upset, because I said to myself, she knows I've said yes to forgive with Jesus, that I believe in God and Holy Spirit, and that I know we all make mistakes. She's been through the first 2 cheating incidences in the first place. She knows that I didn't stop being friends with people. Like, she knows everything about everything about me. And yet, and I said, I can understand that she didn't want to tell me while we're in the presence of another human being, because maybe she was, going to feel embarrassed about it, because when we got our first tarot reading, she and I were together with this person. And this person is a codependent type, for example. He gave up his gift or his capacity to be intuitive because his now wife told him it brings us bad luck. It brings Lucifer into the house. It brings demons. Da. And, I found it more than just humorous that you allow another human being to rule and dictate you. Also that you believe in, superstition, because that's exactly where I put it. I said, there's no devil, demon, tarot, really, that doesn't make sense. When people also need to blame a group of people, there's your teenager again, someone's suppressing me. So I hear all of these different stories and I'm like, no, because though I come from the future, I forgot to mention that. So when I was first opened up to mysticism and spirituality in a way of Claire's, I said, I'm from the future because I love all of the technology. I love everything that brings us closer together. And so my girlfriend and I, my soul sister, we would talk about all the dreams that I began to have. So that's why your oversoul is not the only thing you're opened up to as an empowered feminine. You're opened up to your other dimensions and you're integrating it all. And I have been on this amazing journey, so I'm happy to bring it to the 5D collective of mystics because I know that they're here now thanks to the smart scientists, not because of the mystic ones of us. I won't be taking any credit because credit needs to be given to where it's due. Since you're an embodied brain and so am I, what helps you to become empowered and emotionally mature is academia with the actual genuine intellectuals. The ones who open up their own schools, I know what they serve, and I'm happy the Flat Earthers have a group so that they can all continue to sing Kumbaya together. And as the Gladiator shows what the masses are, Schopenhauer, thank you. When you want to appeal to a large audience, yes, I don't do ignorance because I'm not ignorant. I know where I'm ignorant and I know where I'm not. And so again, I like to walk a walk and talk a talk because I'm still a perfectionist. I just know that I'm imperfect because I'm good and I'm bad and I'm both. It depends who you are. If you're an emotionally immature person, you're going to flip a switch every now and then. But I'm used to flipping a switch because I was a teenager again. So I'm going to my BFFF after the 7 days. The 7, it's for some reason, I continue to notice my patterns because even with my facade friend, it was 7 days prior his message that I had picked up on. He's going through some shit. And then he wrote me, and because God taught me, Maria, you know, even if you put him in a little hate box, it's time. Basically, there's a lot more to that story too, but we're going to do a take 2 with different stories. So this one can close on out with the fact that not all emotionally immature people become emotionally mature because some cannot, but not because they physically can't. If it's childhood developmental, if they choose to go to good therapists like Pat Ogden, EMDR, Chop Arts Work Somatics, and or someone that does sensory motor, then they say yes to personal development, self-help, they can continue to use the now integrated brain. If they choose not to go, then no, they're going to go hang out with the Flat Earthers or some other group so that they can cheer each other on, allow themselves to say that they can do it. We know they can, and they pretend to love their children and play Russian roulette while they just say, my genes. And you say, yeah, because you talked about stepmothers and stepfathers. And you mentioned Cinderella. Wow, you're old school because I know step-parents and they love their children to death. You have a very, very unfortunate way of thinking about humanity. I see your faith in it was broken with some ancient stereotype of Cinderella. And how dare you call all of us in, because you see, the minute you're going to make a person who is a step not be kind, I have a stepfather, I don't call him that. He actually, in my words, was a father and was because he's dead and he loved me to death. In fact, actually, I got told a story of how it became, I won't share that, to be that he's the one who got to teach me how to ride a bike, how to play football, even though I don't like sports at all. And he also taught me how to do discipline, and he was very proud. In fact, the last conversation I had, it was a bit off, but I remember it because he was chiming in on what I was doing, and it was very funny to hear what his chiming in was because I'm like, no, Dad, I'm not going to become a teacher. I do personal development, but, and actually I don't even remember if I was already doing the podcast at the time, but my point is this human being man is a very ignorant human being because only ignorant human being thinks that step parents are actually still around, like a Cinderella type story. So you know when you find somebody who was raised in an era that you're not going to expect them to change their mind because that's really ridiculous, but you know they're the dinosaur and they're the dying breed, and any younger person, man, woman, or they who follows that kind of crap, again, I mean, if you're thinking it's true, that's why 3D, 4D brothers and sisters, they ain't going anywhere. They can so do it. You obviously don't know neuroscience. Everyone needs something to believe in. No, I believe in God. I'm the woo-woo pseudoscience mystic. I'm the one who believes in something that is invisible. 97% of what is out there is unavailable for scientists to explore, but they know it. So a true scientist will know how to say, this is how much we've learned, and this is how much we don't know yet, and this is how we're going to keep moving forward. And so they do talk about our lovely yesterday's sciences making an impact and how we're going to have more of them. So that's why Flat Earthers, you might be right. Maybe one day you'll be able to come and prove it. My point is that those who are genuinely intellectual know that science is consistently, we want the ones who are going to to us no, not to me, but to some sound ridiculous. And never been a medium ever. Okay, really? Come on, dude. So my point is, science and spirituality walk a walk and talk a talk together, because that's our 5D collective. So we continue to do what our ancestors did. The difference is we do it with dharma, not karma. Why? Because I'm using my integrated brain. That's the only difference. So really, there's not a big difference, except for I live eustress and they live distress. I live harmony and they live disharmony. And I live love and they live fear. I live life and they live not life. They live pseudo aliveness, because they can't physically breathe at ease. Their performance is actually coming and seeping through every one of their words, and also my gut picks it up. So what I can tell you, though, again, they won't notice that they are a dying breed, because like the Roman Empire didn't actually notice. It seems that brilliant minds who are in destructive mode, Sadhguru, they don't represent a threat to Earth. You know why already, Sadhguru. I don't even need to tell you why. I'm an empowered feminine. I know you know intelligence, Akash, source, God always wins. So really anybody who's a smart individual, I was thinking of a song, is going to not be one in the desert for the rest of their life, because really that desert is going to consume you, but they also will create a bridge so that they disengage from following false idols, meaning that they notice, okay, I've gotten everything I could from these pseudo-intellectuals. There's a dead end there. I'm going to continue building a village with my brain being open to that which is a blank slate. And so once you become a seeker, as you're doing the integrated brain, you can build a castle, and that castle will look like many things. And that box will have many opportunities, and that's why the 5D mystics, spiritual, mindfully living, loving people, we consistently move over the threshold because we know that, again, emotionally immature people are our opportunity. That's why Buddha makes fun of me, because suffering people are my opportunity to actually put into practice what I preach. The womb was comfortable to me, and the restorative embodiment is what I am now, because any storm that heads my way is not actually a storm. And the underworld, I've been there as an Akashic record reader. I went there because one of the people that I have had download for, and that's not the only one, from my future, they're in my future, they come from this place. And in fact, in the future, they are still from that place. And so we're going to have, again, some more stories on the empowered feminine masculine front with the mystic. In the meantime, for this one, let me share with you once more, our potential rises to the unimaginable, the infinite higher human consciousness potential, obviously. The ones who are limited, they will believe that they are, the stars and whatnot. We will inspire here at IHP, live life without the shame, without the blame, without the fault, without the revenge, without the emotionally immaturity of a modulated, dysregulated, closed ears, closed everything, and pretend to favor human growth. We will actually favor human growth, because, again, not all emotionally immature people from our past will be able to move into their ventral vagal state, but all of the new people, yes, because there's those of us who know how to bring to you the data, make it fun, entertaining. And so, again, I'm pseudoscience lady, woo-woo, but I am a mystic mentor, content creator, podcast host who supports people with self-help, personal development, who want to be themselves, who don't want to pretend to have virtue, but you do want virtue. So it's when you have healed from the shame of your child parts, if you had any of that, and you now have a whole self, you own the sense of self, so you have earned secure attachment, or you just kept it right here. Again, I was a teenager, 19, when I went to do what I did with my BFFF. I kept learning how to use my prefrontal cortex. I just didn't know the word mindfulness. And when I asked people to help me to stop venting, they said, but you can't, you're human. But you can't, this is normal life. I said, I can do all of these things because I'm human, but you're not Jesus or Buddha. I don't follow Buddha because he sat under a tree. Now I know what he serves. He serves ventral vagal toning exercises. Keep saying that word virtual. Yeah, through virtual means I get to reach a larger audience. That's probably why it's coming up, which I love. The part about meditation and mindfulness serves integration of brain. And so, again, you take care of your child parts first. Otherwise, you will have shit come up and you won't do the let me integrate my solo, my core, my narrative, and my relational self, because you don't understand physiological state. I do, which is why, as I was saying in our short, an emotionally immature person may be brought to notice themselves when you are around an emotionally mature person, and then with the good therapists like Patrick Tan, Dr. Daniel Fox, and Terry Real, they will say, I have an opportunity. And that's them taking action. That's the only action they can take. That's why they can. Somebody telling me they can and they're pretending, you refuse to understand how the brain works. You don't have to. You can stay ignorant, think you're not emotionally immature, you're emotionally, mentally, and physically immature, like a person who tells me neuroscience, ha ha ha, everyone has something to believe in, when I'm telling you there's no demons inside the body of anyone. So when you want to dehumanize my brothers and sisters, I already know you got a teenager in the room, because you just made it out to become that which wants to say, I'm good and they're evil. I'm good and they're bad. Excuse me, you don't know humility. You don't know virtue. You don't know integrity. You know pseudo, all of it, but you know pretend. Because if you didn't, you would have heard yourself as you're speaking words that are against science's data. So data isn't proving all of it all the time, but there's enough that's been accumulated. Also, I get to watch, again, all the emotionally immature people as they are destructive in their modality, because they're not only toxic matriarchal, they're toxic patriarchal. In fact, they will go ahead and even use words. The funniest thing is that you will always be able to notice how they are choosing vocabulary. The pseudo-intellectual is a left brain. They are not using two sides. And because they're in a gut that has low self-esteem, you're going to notice the tactic. And here's where actually I'm going to have to mention him. I love you, Robert Spolsky, man. So with his book Determined, I have not read it, but I watched a couple or more of interviews. And in one of them particularly, it's as he's explaining why some firefighters will run into building, others not, and and how we're ruled by these first 3 years of life. And he has a study that he mentions, and he mentions how the ones who are going to just do it, they don't think. When you're thinking, you're strategizing, you ruminate, you spiral. You're the one who doesn't understand. You're working really hard in a low frequency. You're insecure gut. Your heart's not involved. You're in a safety mode. And that's why if you were actually smart, you would get securely attached, all your child parts healed, and out of shame, defectiveness. Because if you're hearing the explanation, you're going to know that you're limited in your own consciousness, and you're tiring yourself out because you don't know how to use your default mode network. You don't know how to downregulate it because your 0-1-year-old is not words. Your 2-year-old, not words. Your 3-year-old, not words. It's implicit. So when you explain this to people and they continue to say, ha, 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 everyone needs something to believe in, you leave it alone, me. And I'm letting you all know, I'm not looking for idiots here, because I'm not saying be yourself without knowing now what it means. It means you can be yourself because you don't do it. That means red flag, Patrick Tian trying to send him to you, man, because really... So when you don't want to be yourself and you think you need to change and you think this, I don't have any of that. I have no shame, because I got to be a child in a child-centric environment that was for my 0-8-year-old. I have a twin. I have another mini body next to me. And so that's the part of where you are a securely attached, non-traumatized person, when you can self-regulate in the absence of another human being in your ventral vagal state. And when people say it's impossible, you just say, no, it's not. And you can own your subconscious and then become conscious. And we're going to talk some more about that in our next episode, because when I see the 4D, 3D, they're amazing at how they would like to give people certainty of who they are. And some of us, our self is not an image. Use your human name. That's who I am. I'm not an image, but I have a lot of different words I bring in. They're not my labels. They're not what I dress up with. I try to use words because I understand somewhat that people need them for us to become friends. That's it. But I'm not like, oh my God, I'm only this. No, in fact, that's why the PDP framework is what works really well with any person who is their own self, because we're not a story. We're a feeling. And that's when you have the ownership of the sense of self. So you have a feeling of the essence of you. And because you know who you are from the heart, when people correct you, you say, no, I'm a differentiated self. And I was at 3, at 4, at 5, at 6, at 7, at 8. I would say, do you want me to lie to you because you're asking me to lie? No, you're trying to be different. No, I'm not. I'm asking you to stop telling me how to speak about myself. This is how it works. And so once you are allowing yourself to, again, be comfortable with the left mode people, you understand that those who are incapable of noticing their own biases and their own reactivity and their own words and their own everything, their own effective realism, It is because their first 3 years of life, some shit went down, and mine it didn't. I said, you can't spank me. It's my body. And then I went to make my suitcase. I corrected the biological father. I waited 3 times. I'm patient. See, God, I'm patient. And God keeps chiming in, and Buddha keeps making fun of me. And I keep saying, high five, Jesus, Buddha, God, and Holy Spirit. Because look, my foundation wasn't broken. Unshakable. So the elite, emotionally invincible, is an elite because we're also mentally invincible. Because my mother taught me what grown-ups, shame on them. She taught me self-respect and self-acceptance and what to look for when grown-ups try to manipulate you. Because see, she knew I would encounter grown-ups, and she said, shame on them. But remember, I'm teaching you politeness. And that's why only she gets the angry butthole and my twin. Because she taught me politeness, which was, if you can't say something nice, say nothing. And so I'm like, okay, I'll say nothing. Mom, they did this. And then I got to grow up, and I got disowned by my twin. And I went to my mom, and she said, you can't be disowned. So she told me the truth, which was, you're all different, not better, not worse. Sometimes you get pushy. And so see, with that type of patience, and then the allowance of all my angriness and all my obsessiveness, they put up with me, I put up with them. That's how I tell them. And that's why we're a village. So with that, again, empowered feminine, you can thank my oversoul, my entire herd, immediate, because they are actually the ones that have completely, at a certain point, like, okay, get out of my sphere. And then I opened up to the earth, and I'm like, wow, thank goodness for the therapist being on YouTube. They can tell everybody how to use their nervous system. I'm so happy. And this happened at a certain point, and that's why, again, I'll continue our stories in another episode. In the meantime, thanks for stopping by. If you don't stop by, like, share, and subscribe. If you do find value and value out of being an integrated brain, restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, actually virtuous, with integrity person who knows polyamory, we do know love. It's not, you're not pilly enough. No, monoamory, they do know love. Hey, high five, we get to hang out. You know, cheating is not something that we really need to talk about. Betrayal. Really, you're not emotionally invincible yet? Let me tell you how. We'll be back in another episode. I have a fun story for you, because when emotionally immature people like to compare themselves to you, and you can't say anything, because that's when they say, oh, you're just trying to be different, or you're just pretending you don't feel. And it's like, I know about my alleles, my genes. I mean, I got lucky, okay? I got good genes. This is where it is actually a thing. My brain and my embodied brain got good genes. Again, we'll be back with more. I'll tell you why.